Hello, everyone, and welcome to my new show, Dream Your Life and Live Your Dream. I'm Sheila Balgobin, your host, also known as the Dream Decipherer. And in this show, we will be looking at all things related to dreams and how your dreams can actually fuel your best life. But before I get into telling you about what's in store for you on this program, let me share a few interesting facts about dreams that you may or may not already know. First of all, did before the advent of color TV in 1950, only 15% of people dreamt in color. Now, 75% of people dream in color, including people who are blind but once had sight. And there are a number of things that we use every day that were created as the result of dreams. Some of the things are Google. Yes, Google was the result of a dream. Einstein's E equals MC squared, that famous equation. This novel Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. There was also sewing machines, and the double helix of DNA were all created on the back of dreams, as well as the song Yesterday by the Beatles. So just think of it. What new breakthrough or bright idea for your personal life or your business may be waiting for you to tap into it in your dream? Dreams are not just the part of our sleep cycle. They have a physiological as well as psychological value, and new research is showing that dreams have an importance in and of their own right and not just as being part of sleep. All mammals dream, and if you have a pet and have ever seen your dog running in their sleep or hissing, or your cat hissing, you know that they're dreaming. Um, all animals dream, and what's one of the things I'll be looking at in going forward is that new research which shows that even animals and creatures that we didn't expect to were dreaming actually do, such as lab rats and spiders, believe it or not. So I will be looking into animal dreaming at some point as well. But dreaming is a natural part of our lives and contain very important information that can actually help guide us. But let me share with you a story from my own personal experience that it will depict how dreams are important and the impact that they have on us as a result. When I was working as a drug and alcohol counselor, my clients didn't dream. And if you think about it, it makes sense. I mean, people drink or take drugs to self-medicate against some kind of pain and are trying to push away their these bad memories or feelings or thoughts and what have you. So they are suppressing those feelings, those thoughts, and whatnot. Now, once they stop taking drugs or drinking, what happens is they start to dream continuously to the point where they're even dreaming while they're awake because the unconscious mind is flooding the conscious part of the mind with so much material that the person is actually interacting with their dreams in the waking state. So they look like they're having psychotic episodes. So you may see people screaming, crying, cursing, or what have you, um, completely enthralled by this dream, even though they're awake. So when we don't dream, the all of the stresses and strains and memory consolidation gets out of whack. It just doesn't function correctly. And what ends up happening is that if we're not dreaming, for example, on the physical level, we wake up irritable, we wake up tired, we could be more confused, we don't make good decisions. But on the psychological level, we are taking on additional stress that we don't actually need or want. and it starts to manifest itself in different ways in terms of our emotional lives, our relationships, etc. We must remember at this point that dreams, when we're in the dream state, it's as real as when we are in our waking state. And I mean, think about it. You may have had a dream and you said, my goodness, it seemed so real. I was really there. I could really smell this. I could really touch this. And you are actually there. The mind does not make any distinction between what we're dreaming or imagining and reality. It is your reality when you're in that state. So you have to accept that our dream lives can be just as real and just as important as our waking lives. I'd like to pause here for a moment and ask you a couple of questions. First of all, has a dream ever saved your life or showed you the face of your love interest? Well, I can tell you from personal experience that that is exactly what happened to me. A set of my dreams actually saved my life and brought an old flame back into my life, whom I later married. So, another question for you, and I'll let you sit with that for a moment, but another question I have for you is, have you ever considered that dreams may actually contain important information that can help you in your life and in your decision-making process? I can attest for myself and for my clients that many important decisions that I have made or that they have made in their lives have been the result of actually paying heed to the information contained in a dream. I had a client who was starting up a new business and feeling doubtful about whether she was making the right step. But a dream of hers in which lions featured in Central Park, which is another story, showed that she needed to move forward and look at some of the things that were holding her back. And as it turned out, it was other people's fears that were preventing her from playing with these lions. And in fact, her business now is going great guns. It's just amazing. Once she let go of those fears and listened to the dream that said, just do it, things have taken off for her. And there have been other examples like that as well. So dreams are not just these nice things. They're not just for burning off stress. They have serve various purposes. But the main thing is for us, there are messages for us about things that we need to look at. Now, let's look a little bit at the people who say that they don't dream or they don't remember the dreams. I get that all the time. And there's reasons for that, as I stated earlier. And I teach people actually how to improve those odds. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But there are a couple of tips I can give you right now that can help beat those odds. One is about an hour before going to bed, have a glass of water. Psychologically, water is likened to our emotions, and dreams are part of our emotional landscape, if you will, or depict our emotional landscape. So having that water can help stimulate dreams and perhaps help to make the memories clearer when you wake up. The other thing is to simply have a little pad or piece of paper and a pen or pencil by your bedside. You don't have to write, a huge novel, but to jot down little bullet points so that when you wake up, those notes that you've written can help jog your memory and help you retain more of the dream. And then there's something interesting that happens when we start to pay more attention to our dreams. The unconscious mind seems to help us to remember our dreams more. Once it kind of notices that you're actually making an effort to note and remember your dreams, it will do things to help prompt the memories a bit better. so that you retain more of the dreams. And there's another thing, we may forget parts of a dream. And what I tell people not to worry so much about that, for the simple reason that as I said before, dreams have an emotional relationship with us. They are our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, and put together in a dream. Now, what that means is that the things that with the most emotional charge behind them will be what we will remember. And there will be parts of dreams that are so vivid that you will never forget them. And the other details, while they may be worth looking at some point, the things that are most topical and most important for you to look at are the things that have that high charge behind them and that you remember. So that's what needs to be looked at first, if you will. People always have a tendency to discount their dreams, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The first is that they just seem totally nonsensical. Strange images, strange people, or maybe even familiar people, but strange situations that just seem completely nonsensical, and are put down to being the result of cheap wine or a dodgy takeout meal. The other reason why we have a tendency to just dismiss our dreams is because of the different functions of the two hemispheres of our brain. The left brain is our logical part. It is the part that it does the bean counting. It evaluates, it judges, it counts, it orders things. Whereas the right half of the brain is the image-rich part of the brain. It's actually part of what is called the reptilian brain, the most ancient part of the brain that developed first before we had language. And so images is what it recorded. For example, primitive man didn't have language. They would remember those bright red berries, which nearly killed them. Or they would remember that saber-toothed cat opening its jaws didn't mean it any good, and they needed to run. So this was our way of capturing information without words. But what happens is that the dissonance between the two functions of the different hemispheres of the brain means that when an image is floated up by the right brain, the left brain goes, what is that? That's garbage. It's nonsense. And so dismisses what is being projected by the other hemisphere. And one of the things that I do in my course on dream interpretation is to help integrate the two halves of the brain so that when an image is floated up by the right brain, the left brain doesn't immediately dismiss it, but steps back a moment and looks at those images and those feelings and thoughts that come up to put words to what the images are trying to convey. To give you an idea of what I mean by this, I'll share an example of a story recounted by the psychotherapist Robert A. Johnson. A friend of this gentleman was offered a job with a company, and it had all the bells and whistles. It sounded perfect, and it was really quite interested, but asked for it a few days to consider the offer. During those few days that he was thinking about this offer, he had a dream. And the dream was this very beautiful, very seductive woman walking towards him, and his first thought was, I'll have some of that. But as the woman got closer to him and he was able to look into the woman's eyes, the eyes had this unnatural green color, and he felt put off by it and decided that, nah, this isn't for me, and withdrew. And that was the dream. Now, for whatever reason, something within this person woke up and decided that there was some connection between this job offer and this dream, and decided in the end that no, I'll decline this offer. It's not right for me. What did that gentleman found out later was that the company was not legit, that they actually got into legal trouble of some kind for fraud, and he had basically dodged a bullet. But if he hadn't made that connection between the decision about taking that job and that dream, he could have very well have been caught up in something that would have not been beneficial for him at all. So, and this is what I mean about, even though the symbols may in a dream may seem unrelated, um, it's up to the left brain to be able to take that information and create a synthesis between the image and the logical, rational thought. So you can think of the unconscious mind as speaking in metaphors, as if. And so it's not a straightforward language. Dreams have their own language and their own way of presenting information. And you have to learn how to crack that code to be able to understand the message contained in the dream. And each person's code is different. What a black cat, for example, may mean to me in my dreams will be something entirely different than what it means for you. And except for universal themes like sex, death, and mothers-in-law, dreams are very, very individual. They come from us, and they are about us. And therefore, the symbols that appear in our dreams will be particular to us rather than someone else. And there's another thing that you might want to note, is that the people who appear in our dreams are not necessarily themselves. So you may dream about your partner, you may dream about your kids, you may dream about your neighbor down the street, but they don't necessarily represent themselves, but represent some aspect of ourselves. So cracking the code to our dreams or cracking codes to dreams is what I help my clients to do. As I said, as you become more familiar with yourself, you become better able to understand what dreams are trying to convey to us. And it can help us to clarify situations or relationships and help us to make better decisions as a result. So over the years, what I have identified some 5 types of dreams, and I'll be talking about those during the course of the show, and what their particular place or role is in a dream. But the 5 categories are the smokestack dream. Smokestacks, I call them, that we burn off the remains of the day, minor stresses and strains that we weren't able to burn off or to work through during our waking state. Then there are the snapshot dreams, and this is where your dream will frame a particular moment or relationship in time. It's just like a little snapshot and saying, this is what it's like with you at this time. Then there's the creative and problem-solving dreams, and that goes back to the things that I said that have been invented and created as a result of dreams. The adage that, sleep on something is actually quite helpful, because our unconscious mind during the sleep hours, it's on duty 24/7, will keep working on a situation or an issue or whatever it is. And often, once we're awake, the message will suddenly come to us and to help us to make a decision or to reach a conclusion or to see something more clearly. Then there's a category of dreams that I call big medicine dreams. And those are dreams that have such power and such clarity that even years later, they will be remembered. The dreams that I had that literally saved my life have that power. That was definitely a big medicine dream for me, as well as meeting my what became the man that became my husband. So it was these dreams are really game changers for us. They are pointing to something that is very important, very pertinent, and can dictate the future direction of our lives. And then there's the fifth category is one that I was aware of, but hadn't had any direct experience of until recently. And I call those communal dreams. And communal dreams are dreams that we don't just dream for ourselves, but we dream for other people. And I became aware or rediscovered these types of dreams because of a client who was teaching in his sleep. But what I will say is that communal dreaming is something that's not new. When I was doing counseling work, when I was doing my psychotherapy training, I had would mention that to clients that I work with dreams, and if there was a dream they would like to present for us to look at and work on, almost to almost invariably, I would get, oh, I had a dream, the night before, and this was just when the first time we met. So, and quite often the dream really framed the client's situation perfectly so that I had a sense of where they were and would be able to figure out the best way to proceed in terms of working with them. And over the course of time, the client would bring dreams and show what shifts were happening and letting me know that, yes, you're on the right track, or nah, you're off with the fairies with this one, try something else. So we don't just dream for ourselves, we dream for others. I had a colleague who posed a question about something in a dream, and the next day, the husband answered the question and resolved the issue that she was wrestling with in her sleep. So these are just some of the things that can happen with a dream. I mean, like I said, that they're the means to look at a particular area of our lives and gain some insight into it so that we can take action or stop taking action, as the case may be. But this dream show isn't about simply providing you with information. I hope that it will be very interactive as well. I will be asking the audience, the viewers, you, to share your experiences as well, and inviting people to submit their dreams, which will be anonymously looked at on the show, providing uh, clues and hints and information that the dreamer can take away and work on the dream further to be able to tease out what I call the gold and the gobbledygook of their dream. So I'm hoping and expecting that this will be a very interactive program. There will be interviews with former clients, with fellow dream interpreters or people who work with dreams, as well as other information, and that will be brought to bear. So I'm hoping and I'm expecting that you too will become part of my dream, which is to look at more closely into your dreams and really understand who you are, where you are, and where it is that is best for you to go in terms of making decisions. Now, I would like to share with you a little bit of my own story and as to why I've created this show and what I hope to accomplish with it. I never really started out with the intention of being the Dream Decipherer. It was a family gift I inherited from my mother's line, and I'm a fifth generation dreamer. Women who were gifted with the ability to use dreams in some way to help other people. My particular take on it is to be able to understand the meaning contained within dreams. Now, my first indication that I was a dreamer came when I was 8 years old, when I dreamed about one of my aunts and my six cousins being burned out of their home. And the experience frightened me half to death, but also made me realize that I too had this ability. And for many, many, many years, I kept it hidden, didn't share that with very, very many people because I just didn't want to be thought as being too weird or crazy. But even at a young age, people were always coming to me and telling me their stories and telling me about their dreams. And my take on their dreams, my insight on their dreams seemed to help them to understand them better. And it wasn't really until, as I mentioned earlier, that a set of my dreams actually saved my life that I finally woke up to the fact that, yes, not only are dreams important, not only do they contain important and vital information, but this gift wants to be shared. It doesn't want to be kept hidden and locked away and kind of dealt with in a surreptitious manner, but it needed to be dusted off and put on a, put front and center and shared. Now, to give you just a brief summary of what these series of dreams that I had to save my life were about, I kept having nightmares about shipwrecks, stormy seas, black skies. I mean, it was just, I would wake up frightened to death, shaking in a cold sweat, and not understanding what was going on. What were these dreams about? And what frightened me even more was that I had no idea what these dreams were meaning, what their meaning was. And that frightened me even more because I had never not been able to understand a dream. But I recorded the dream, and I didn't know it wasn't even necessary because I kept having the dream night after night after night. Now, to put it all in context, at this point in my life, I had married in the UK, in London, and because of legal issues, I had to return to New York, where I'm from, and apply for a visa to be able to settle in the UK. During this time, I was trying to get my spouse to join me in New York. And every time I tried to pry open the door for him to join me, it would slam shut. And I finally got to the point where I said, you know what, this isn't working. Let me just try and get my visa to return to the UK, which I got in 48 hours, mind you. It took me months trying to get my husband to New York, and I got my visa to return to the UK in 2 days. But the funny thing was, when I made that decision, the dreams stopped completely. I never had the dreams again. And something had shifted as a result of my making that decision. I still didn't know what the dream meant. And so I had to just kind of put it aside and say, well, one day I will know what it means. And I did find out eventually what it meant. It was about a year, little over a year after I had moved back to the UK. I was coming back from lunch from work, or rather returning to work from lunch. And when I got to my office, there were people running around. They were screaming, they were crying, they were hysterical. And I was like, what the hell happened? What went on during my absence? And all I could get out of people were planes, tower, hit. And my brain stopped working. And I knew instantly what my dream had been about. It was 9/11. And what was significant about that was that it was, I was a stockbroker when I was in New York, and I walked through the towers every single day to and from work, as well as during the execution of my duties as a stockbroker, and could very well have been caught up in 9/11 if I had been at work, been there and been at work. So that was when the penny finally dropped for me. It's like, oh, you need to pay attention to dreams. You need to help other people pay attention to their dreams, because what, I mean, not necessarily devastating event, but what important events in a person's life may be missed or may be walked into, as the case may be, as a result of not listening to the wisdom that is contained within us in our unconscious mind. And that is when I really started to work with dreams. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Dream Your Life, Live Your Dream.